All right. Today we're going to learn about a comprehension strategy that can help us when we're looking at different types of texts to be able to learn about the general structure of a story. We're going to get into some of how that works, but we're going to start with just introducing it. So these will be summary sentence frames. And some key vocabulary and definitions you want to keep in mind as we go into this is how to describe, which means to explain something with important details. So emphasis is on important. There's going to be certain details in the stories we're going to be reading that are going to be important for us to look for and notice in order for us to be able to create a summary of a story. In addition, another word we want to keep in mind is sequence, which is the order of a story. So it's important for us not to only know the key details of the story, but also to be able to recall them in the order which they happen. So I'm going to introduce the tool we're going to be using today to be able to summarize stories. This is a little organizer that we can use to ask questions about a story. So it starts with somebody, and somebody tells us who is the main character. So we're going to be looking at first who's the main character. Wanted, what does the main character want? What are their goals? What are their desires? But what's the problem? What stops them from being able to have what they want? So how do they address that problem? How they go about rectifying or changing things so that they can have what they want? Then what happens at the end of the story? So what's the conclusion to all of this? So we're going to be looking for those things today. We're going to start with this story that we can read. It's called The Solver. So we're going to look at that, and let's start typically in the beginning of a story, in the first paragraph or so, we figure out who the somebody would be. So I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then we're going to try to identify who the somebody is for this story. Kevin loves to read mystery books. He reads mystery books because he likes to try and solve the mystery himself before he gets to the end. Solving puzzles is like solving mysteries, so he likes working on puzzles too. He also likes solving problems. Kevin can usually solve any mystery, puzzle, or problem. Awesome. So I'm looking at this and I hear Kevin's coming up a lot. Kevin likes to read books. And the subject of this story, or whoever it's about Kevin. So for somebody, we're going to write Kevin. Awesome. And let's look further down. We're going to keep an eye out for Wanted, and we're also going to keep an eye out for Bud. One day, Kevin's mom was trying to find her glasses. Without her glasses, she could not drive. This was a problem. Ooh, let's keep an eye on this word. Let's read on. Because she was going to drive Kevin to his friend's house. It was also a mystery and a puzzle. Kevin really wanted to solve this mystery. So, when you see the words wanted, it's a good indicator that this is going to close into this part of our summary, what they wanted. So Kevin really wanted to solve this mystery. And this is because he really wants to go to his friend's house. So for the wanted, he wants his mom to drive him to his friend's house. So that's what he's looking after in this story. And the problem, as it goes back here, is because his mom doesn't have her glasses, she cannot drive. So, but his mom couldn't find her glasses and therefore couldn't drive Kevin to his friend's house. So we're going to read on further and try and figure out what the so would be for this. Kevin sat down with his mom. Kevin sat down with his mom. Where do you last remember seeing your glasses? He asked. I had them on while I was watching the news this morning, she said. Where were you watching the news? Asked Kevin. His mom thought for a minute, and then she answered that she was in the family room. She remembered sitting in her favorite chair and taking off her glasses when the news ended. She thought she placed her glasses on the table, but they weren't there. Are you sure you didn't put them on again after the morning news? Asked Kevin. Maybe I did, his mom replied. Walk through your day, Mom, said Kevin. Kevin had his mom describe everything she remembered doing during the day so far. She mentioned watching the news, making breakfast, folding laundry, working in her home office, and then gardening. It was after gardening she started looking for her glasses. After hearing about his mom's day, Kevin retraced her path through the house and the yard. He looked under the cushion of her favorite chair, in the kitchen, in the laundry basket, in her office, and around the garden. Couldn't find her glasses. So we kind of see Kevin's response to his mom not being able to find his glasses. It's he's asking all these questions and he's retracing her steps. So I put Kevin retraced his mother's steps. So there could be other things you could put here. You could put he looked around the house for it. He asked his mom questions. There's a couple of different things that fit in here, but I like to put this because I think it makes the most sense to summarize what all that his mom did. I think it covers the most things. Retracing her steps include looking around and asking his mom questions. So let's finish out this story and see what the conclusion is. And this will probably help us figure out the then, what happens after. Kevin doesn't give up easily though. So he looked in each place again and he looked even harder. It was on his second go around of the kitchen a thought to open the cabinets instead of just looking on the counters. Kevin solved the mystery, the puzzle, and the problem. He found his mom's glasses in the drawer with the silverware. Thank you, Kevin. I wouldn't be able to see anything without you. So we get a conclusion to what happens in the story. So far, we know that Kevin wanted his mom to drive him to his friend's house, but his mom couldn't find her glasses. So Kevin retraced his mother's steps. So you see, I just read exactly what was on there. I already know what's going on with the story. So then what happened was Kevin was looking around and was actually able to find his mom's glasses. He found them in the silverware drawer. So look, going through that, we've now heard the entire story, and I can read off what I have and actually tell someone exactly what happened in the story. Taking this 2.5-page story and being able to say it in like 2 sentences. So that's pretty great. And so it's a good thing to practice and also know how to find these things in the text. Remember when we were looking, we found keywords that helped us figure out what it was. Wanted, problem. So this one says it pretty clearly for us, but we're not always going to have these things. So it's good to realize what these words are, and then similar clues that will help us find other things. So with all this in mind, we're going to break into groups and work together to try and do the same thing for another story, Hats in Harvard. So when you're working in your groups, remember we want to be able to look at the text, and that's actually where our answers are going to come. You see, like I was able to look and make interpretations off of the text, and maybe what I thought was the most reasonable answer. There's some of these that are going to be pretty definitive or pretty clear which one is the correct thing. Like if I go back to the solver, the somebody, it's about Kevin. We couldn't say it was about Angela or Bobby because these characters don't exist in the story, and the subject of the story is about Kevin. So, but there's some of these, like we could put something a little bit different, and it would be the same thing. Like, but his mom couldn't drive him to his friend's house, or Kevin, like we were talking about earlier, Kevin looked all over the house for the cell. So let's move on into this and let's read Hats in Harvard, and let's try and figure out the somebody, wanted, but, so, and then.